All right, it's Saturday. We're gonna stay consistent. All right, guys, let's do this. Check my audio. All right, we're in business today. Helping one of our community members, JD, analyze a property in 717 West Euclid Ave, Deland, Florida 32720. Let's see where this is. Just northeast of Orlando. Okay. Quick street drive. What kind of neighborhood am I in? Looks pretty suburban for the most part. Okay. Is there any stores around here? Health center. No big shops or anything like that around here. All right. Let's keep it going. Let's look at the deal details. 200. I'm just going to start plugging some numbers here on the side. If you do want to see the full screen version, just go to youtube.com/@Kent_HG as I plug these in. $229,000, 3-bed, 2-bath. What am I looking at? Yes, there's a pool. There's no HOA. Built to 19 by 1272 square feet. Here's a loan balance. $203,000, 203. The loan PITI is 4.875%. Okay, cash close is 48,900, 48,900. Let's go ahead and plug that in. Okay, there is a inspection report. I'll open that up too, just to kind of take a look at it when the time comes. For now, all I care about is the red items. Some door doesn't latch. Let's see, reverse polarity, small electrical stuff, heating, filter, dirty. Heating is near end of life, so heating. So roof is near end of life. Heating is near end of life. Loose toilet, that's not a big fix. Floor is damaged. We'll see what that is. But these all look like minor issues. Some wood rot. Okay. Oh, here's your real photos, not just your listing photos. Some cracking in the siding, loose hardware, some wood rot on the door. So you probably replace that. Tree debris on roof. That's not a big deal, but you probably had to think about some termite issues there. Let's go on the roof. Interesting that they include the inspection report. So that kind of helps give some context as to what's going on. Heating, insulated, filter dirty, needs servicing. Observe the end of the life. 2014 of the units midway through lifespan. So maybe it doesn't need to get replaced right away. If it's 2014. My personal furnace lasted about 25 years. So that's probably about right, midway through. 2017 for the water heater. Should be good. Usually those are at least 10 years, in my opinion. Electrical. I'm not an electrician, so don't quote me on that, but only the stuff that I look at for is no exhaust fans. That's a quick fix. Door doesn't latch. So I'm not overthinking this, right, guys? I'm just looking at this to see if there's any major damage, like some small flooring thing there. Like that's not the end of the world. You probably just refinish it or just replace a small stain on ceiling. Now that's the part where you need to quick look at just to see if there is a leak in the roof. So usually at the very minimum, I would have a roof inspection done to see whether or not there is any leaks or active leaks. Third thing I'm going to do is just check on the quality of the work, because usually if there is a stain on the ceiling, chances are there was a leak. Chances are there should have been a repair on the roof to correct and prevent the leak, but that doesn't always happen. Moisture damage on the sink. I see that all the time, to be honest with you. Microwave not operable, so you need a new microwave. Okay, there wasn't that many big items there. Where was the red item? The red item right here was one or more demos. Windows appear to have general damage but operational. So this is one of the things that will cause you to fail your inspection if for some reason the insect screen isn't in there, or there's window damage, or the window doesn't open or close or latch correctly. You can fail your Section 8 inspection. So that's something that you definitely have to replace. All right. So now that we got a pretty good idea of this property, let's take a look at what the best sort of photos of the property look like. Okay. Don't really need to replace the flooring. The pool, you see how the pool is like this algae green is how I call it. That usually means that it has not been conditioned. So what's going to happen is you're going to need to drain the pool. You're going to need to acid wash the pool. And then you might have to refill it if you want to keep the pool there. Now, if you are doing this for affordable housing or Section 8, you could decide to just close the pool off. You also might want to put a fence around the pool, to be quite honest with you, just for liability reasons, especially if you're going to have kids nearby, or yeah, that would be smart. So no floor. I'm just going to set aside some money to paint the whole place, and I'm going to do some of the repairs that we talked about earlier. All right. So before we do that, we want to get the HUD FMR, the fair market rent. What county is this in? This is Orange County. Volusia. I have no idea. Excuse me. So we're just going to go and look up the 2024 small area FMRs. Florida, Volusia. Boom. Only thing with a V. What zip code are we in? We're in 32720. 32720. And that's how we get the rents, the fair market rents for a 3-bedroom. So the FMR for this property is going to be $1,860 for a 3-bedroom. 32170. 32170, 3-bed. Let me get the 4-bed in case, just so I can see whether it's even worth it. No, it's definitely not worth it. See how it says $1,860 for a 3-bedroom, but then the 4-bedroom rent goes to $1,920 for a $60 incremental rent. That's probably not worth your time trying to frame an additional room here to get $60 extra rent per month. That there has to be a line you draw, and that seems a little too small for me. All right. So next thing we want to do is go to affordablehousing.com. Let's plug in this address, 717 West Euclid Ave, Florida. 3-bed. Let's see if we get the market rents for this property. Yeah, right, Andrew. Yeah, definitely just remove the pool at this point, because you're not getting extra rent for this property because there's a pool here. Are you using the subto deal analyzer? I'm using a analyzer that somebody sent to me before, Austin, and I modified it to meet my own criteria and how I underwrite Section 8 properties. Good question. All right, so now that we have a market rent here, what I'm going to do is show you guys what I have here. So I don't care about the 4-bedroom rents. Actually, no, you know what? I'll do it just so for the sake of the process, we'll go through it together. But what the number I care most about here is this number where it says 0.63 mile radius. The market rent is $1,587. So I'll probably end up using a number like 1,600 for the rent here, because I want to make sure I'm being conservative with my rent estimates, but also because usually the housing authority has a test. It's called the rent reasonableness test. And that means that even though the FMR, the fair market rent for a 3-bedroom property in this zip code is $1,860, you cannot charge more rent than what is reasonable for a 3-bedroom comparable property in this area, simply because there are voucher holders for obvious reasons. Now, I don't know if the housing authority gives additional rent or consideration because there's a pool, but that's something that you can call your local public housing authority and say, hey, what sort of amenities do you take into account? Is it bathroom counts? Is it whether or not there is a pool that's available, et cetera, et cetera. So something that you want to at least kind of figure out and see whether or not there is amenable or reasonable assumption for your property. So for this property, I'm just going to assume $1,600 rent, because that's based off of this market rent right here, this number on affordablehousing.com at $1,587. Again, the whole point of this is just to simply see whether or not this deal is worth my time to get a contractor out there, or to justify it's worth me diving even deeper to, such as reaching out to the agent, talking to private money lenders about whether or not they would be interested in this deal. Again, this is not investment advice. This is not a solicitation for any investments. I'm simply just talking out loud what I'm doing in my head, and I'm doing this for one of the community members. All right, so let's kind of go through, based on the inspection report, what we talked about. Now, the roof is near the end of its life. In my opinion, I would probably just replace the whole thing. But if I wanted to be conservative and just say like, hey, what can I get by with the bare minimum? We did see that there was a patch there was some water staining in the ceiling. So I'm just going to assume that it's going to be a $3,000 fix for the roof. Let's see what happens. It might be bigger, but I'm trying to be conservative here because you might send somebody out and they're like, oh yeah, this whole thing needs to kind of get replaced. All right. Next thing I want to do is, let's see, what other issues did we see for this property? Let's at least replace. I remember one of the windows needed to be replaced. Let's at least do frame, install a new window, just to have a little bit of budget there. It might be more, it might be less. It doesn't really matter. For the pool, what I don't have a number here is this is completely redone. I've done an acid wash before for like $500, refill, get the chemicals back up, was roughly around $1,000. So let me just do one, and then I'm just going to call this, I'm going to divide that by 5 because I don't think it'll cost you more than $2,000 to acid wash it, restart the chemicals, refill it, and etc. But you might incur a pretty big water bill for draining and refilling a pool. So I'm going to put that as $2,000 for now, just to have that in place. I'm going to set aside some money to repaint the entire house. This house was 1,272 square feet, 1,272. I'm going to sand and refinish the existing floor area where we saw that there was some damage. I'm assuming that's let's just be conservative. Let's just call it 100 square feet. That's $400. There was one toilet that was loose, so I'm going to add in a toilet right here for $450. I usually just get the high pressure flush toilets because they flush really well and they prevent any clog issues. So I'd rather spend a little bit more money for those pressure flush toilets so that I have less calls for clogged toilets. That's just my personal preference. You don't have to do that. But everything else, I think, looked pretty good for the most part. I want to put in some money to replace the water heater, and I'm going to put in some money to fumigate the property here for roughly about $1,000. It might be even more, depending on where you are. So I'm going to assume that this property needs at least $17.8K of rehab. All right, $17.8K rehab. Let's go through the numbers here and see what we end up with. Now, what is my PITI? If you go back to the property, it says the PITI is 14. If you look at this number here, $1,469 a month. So I'm going to go to, let me zero that out because I had an extra loan in there that from my last underwriting a few days ago. I'm going to $1,469. So I'm going to my property tax number equals $1,469. And I'm just going to back into what my property taxes are and what my insurance numbers are. That leaves me with $1,469 minus the subto principal, minus the subto interest, and that equals to $394. I'm going to assume that somebody was probably living there as a primary residence, and I'm going to add another $35 per month of insurance costs to the property. And I think this might be even conservative because Florida insurance goes up every single year. So I'm not about that life. This is personally why I don't love Florida, because I feel like there is a lot of margin erosion because of rising insurance costs that's completely out of your hand. You might think you're underwriting conservatively, but if all the insurance companies leave and no one wants to insure in Florida anymore, man, that's a really tough position to be in. And I don't really like that. But this is for community members, so let's keep underwriting this. 10% in war chest, and then I got 8% for property management, 3% for vacancy. 3% might be a little bit low, but there is a pool here, so you never know. You find someone that really wants to live here forever. So I got $48,900 for cash to seller. I got $5,700 of closing costs. I got $17,000 of repairs, and this results in a whopping negative $240. To me, this is definitely not a deal for Section 8 exit strategy at the very minimum. Now, might it work for another exit strategy? I'm not sure yet. I'm not analyzing that extra strategy in this scenario, but let's kind of take a quick look. $230,000. And this is not a, what's up, Andy? How you doing, man? Always good hearing from you. You're so consistent. I love it, dude. And then I got, there's no reason to add an extra bedroom for $60 more in rent. Let me just double check on affordablehousing.com to make sure that there is no lift. Oh, hold up. Maybe there is a lift. Hold up. Okay. Now, in this scenario, when I did a 4-bedroom property, the average rent for a 4-bedroom property here is $2,300. Okay. All right. Notice how the FMR from a 3-bed to a 4-bed only went up $60. But if you see that the 3-bed to 4-bed market rent went up to almost $600, 2299. All right. Let's see. 2299. And this is 1.69 mile radius. 1.69 mile radius. Okay. At a zip code of 2306, city 2453, county 2462. All right. Now, here's a problem. If you want to get creative with this property, you have to get an extra bedroom just to kind of make it work. Well, let's see if it does work. What if I am able to get my rent ceiling of $1,920? Does that make it a deal? How much more cash flow would I get? I'm only going to be positive $12. And don't forget, I have to go through at least, if not $20,000 or more, you should at least cost $20,000 for you to add an extra bedroom here. And if you add an extra bedroom by enclosing the carport, putting HVAC in, you might maybe put in a mini split in there. A mini split can probably cost you about, like, at the minimum, $6,000. I've heard as high as 10, 12 grand for a mini split, just depending on your area. So you could potentially add an extra bedroom here, but where else can you add an extra bedroom? Let's see. I guess you can call this dining area a bedroom, but then is there another way to get outside? Let's see. Okay, so it does connect here. So if you can, maybe you can wall this off right here and wall this off right here, and that becomes your 4th bedroom, quote unquote, because you still have an egress right here. You probably need to make sure there's an HVAC vent in there somehow. You need to get air in there because there's no vents in here. So this room might get really hot. So you might have to do some sort of venting in there. So even you add 20 grand in here and try to make this a deal, you look at $37,000 rehab. Because right, think about permitting, etc. You might even have some holding costs that I'm not even accounting for right now. That's a $1,280. So you got 4-bedroom and you get $1,920. This is now a positive $12.08 of cash flow a month, 0.2% cash and cash return, $229,000 purchase price. And this was assuming $37,700 rehab, right? You cannot assume you can get more rent without making more investments. So you had to frame something out. I'm adding $20,000. Chances are that's probably a lot of money. But the point of me deciding not to pursue this further for just a Section 8 exit strategy is because I don't want to do this. Yeah, Andrew. That's a good point. So at $1,280, man, this is not worth my time. Why am I going to go through months of permitting to convert a carport, or just frame something internally, but then still have to get permits and stuff like that for $12 a month? That's just not me. And I'm also in an area where Florida, the insurance continues to go up every single day. So this property is not for me personally. And it's up to you on to deciding on how else you want to analyze this property. Another way to analyze this property is you can potentially look at it as a pad split. Now, when I looked at that property earlier, pad split is very heavily dependent on making sure that you do have a workforce here. There's a university in this area. Maybe that's one way you can take a look at it. There isn't a I'm not sure what the industry is here. It's not like where I've looked at, let's say, outside of Tampa. I've seen Zephyr Hills where there's a water bottle plant. I've looked at Orlando where there's Disney workers potentially. I've looked at Plant City, where there's a bunch of berry farms, or Lakeland, where the berry farms are. So, tons of areas that you really want to make sure there's a labor force that requires a routed room model. The other option would be to look at Furnish Finder to see whether or not there is a midterm rental that will help you cash flow. But just remember, if you're pursuing a higher rent through midterm rentals, you got to start adding expenses for utilities. You got to start adding in your rent furnishing costs. So even you get higher rent, your cash on cash return might not necessarily increase proportionally because you're putting in more capital to the deal on top of the renovations that you're doing. So that's it for today. I know it's Saturday, is late. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. I'm going to stay consistent. I hope you all stay consistent with me, analyzing deals every single day. I don't claim to be an expert. I'm just doing the work every single day. And I hope you all continue to analyze deals with me every single day. Thank you so much for caring about affordable housing. Without people like you, I would have never had the home I grew up in. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being part of the affordable housing and real estate investing community. The whole point of me doing all these underwriting is so that we all grow together. We all increase our own confidence in our ability to analyze deals together. It's not every day you have someone like Andrew talking about, hey, maybe you need footings in this area when you put in your garage conversion, right? I'm not the builder. For my team, I'm the capital raiser, I'm the underwriter, and that's what I do. And that's what I specialize in. Again, this is not solicitation for any investments. I'm not giving any investment advice, but it's so important for you to get the practice in and determine your own investment criteria. When you start looking at these deals over and over and over, you start to see trends. And most importantly, you start to figure out what quickly looks like a deal and what isn't a deal. What I'm really trying to help others is to not burn out while doing this. And you burn out when you spend so much time analyzing deals for no return. Unfortunately, this is the applied work of real estate. In order for you to buy 1,000 deals, you probably got to analyze like tens of thousands of deals. And that is the implied work. It's not glorious. It's not a Lamborghini or Ferrari. I have no interest in buying any of those cars, but this is the implied work. And you got to put in the work. And I hope that when you build out your own YouTube channel with your own analysis of all the properties that you've gone through, that's why you can just copy what I'm doing every single day. Use the same property I did today and just do it tomorrow on your own YouTube channel. If you're really shy, just put it as unlisted on your YouTube channel so that when the time comes and a partner asks you, hey, why do you think this is a deal? You can refer them to your own YouTube channel and show them that you've analyzed 100 or 365 deals. All it takes is analyzing a deal for 18 minutes a day, and you'll probably be better underwriting deals than 95% of America. And most importantly, it's going to give you the confidence that you know what you're doing. Because I was so scared when I started, and I had analysis paralysis. And the only way to get through analysis paralysis is by looking at your own track history and telling yourself like, hey, I know what I'm doing because I've analyzed deals for 18 minutes a day for 365 days in a row. And I'm probably better at than 95% of America. So I hope this is super helpful. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please underwrite deals with me. And I know how hard it is to grow a following, to grow a community. So if you want, just tag me in your stories on Instagram. I'll reshare it. It's so hard to grow a following. But you know what they say. At every point of your career, there's a turning back point. For you to turn back and quit, there's only one guarantee. And that guarantee is that your dreams will not come true. So just do it with me. Let's have some fun together. Have an amazing Saturday, everybody. Spend some quality time with your family and friends. I know I step aside for just 25 minutes on a Saturday to hang out with you guys, but I really enjoy this. Thank you so much. And I will talk to you guys again tomorrow. Have a good one.